Well, good morning, committee. I know we're running a little bit behind as the room was not available. We do have quite a bit today, so as always, Senator Pack for a bill request.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would like to request a committee bill introduction. Simply stated, it's a freedom from government competition for private business, provide some tax incentives. It's RS, well, the last four, which are the most important, are 1018, 1018.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the request? Any objection? Seeing none, we'll make the bill request. So we'll open the hearing on the Department of Revenue's budget. Sharday, would you like to give us an overview? And welcome to the Tax Committee.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. The Kansas Department of Revenue's budget is before you, should be in your packet for today. The first couple pages are an overview of the entire budget, including page 1 that lays out each of the 6 major divisions. The 2022 legislature approved a budget of $110.8 million, including $15.4 million from the state general fund, and an adjustment was made of about 25,700 SGF from fiscal year 2022 into fiscal year 2023. On the top of page 448, you will see the highlights for fiscal year 23 and 2024, which we will get into in a few pages. Page 449 highlights the budget summary by category of expenditure, including salaries and wages, contractual services, commodities, and capital outlay. And the bottom of page 449 is a line graph of state general fund expenditures from FY 2015 through 2024 governor's recommendation. On page 4, there is a division of vehicles operating fund expenditures chart and gives some more information on that fee fund. And page 451 does the same for the electronic databases fee fund. Page 452 begins the fiscal year 2023 analysis. As I mentioned, there was an SGF reappropriation of about 25,700. So the agency submits a revised estimate of 114 million, including 15.4 million SGF in fiscal year 2023. The revised estimate is an all funds increase of 3.2 million or 2.9% above the approved budget. The changes from the legislature approved to the agency's estimate include the Special County Mineral Production Tax Fund. This is an addition of 2.6 million based on the consensus revenue estimates at that time. This also includes salaries and wages fringe benefits, including an increase of 867,457, as well as 8 new FTE positions within the Division of Taxation. These 8 positions are related to the sales food tax reduction. Item number 4 is the Division of Taxation software. This is one-time expenditures for upgrades to an outdated software that is currently being updated. And items number 5 and 6 are related. This is the vehicle license tax resale and postage because the agency did not print as much as expected when it was previously reviewed last session. So there's a deletion of 400,000 for the license tag and 523,000 for postage. And then there are other adjustments in the total of 168,752. And the governor concurs with the agency's fiscal year 2023 revised estimate. Would you like me to stand for questions at this point or move forward?
I think we'll take questions. Thank you, Sharday. Committee, any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Page 454 is a fiscal year 2023 change from actual expenditures table. and more information on that. And page 455 is the fiscal year 2024 analysis. The first item number 1 is the enhancement for license plate replacement costs. The agency requests $25.3 million off from special revenue funds for a complete replacement of the standard Ad Astra license plate for fiscal year 2024. This total amount includes $13.9 million for production costs and $11.4 million for mailing costs. And we will talk more about that enhancement as we move forward in the presentation. Item number 2 is the Special County Mineral Production Tax Fund, and that is another change due to the consensus revenue estimate. Item number 3 is an increase of $641,878, including $605,000 SGF for salaries and wages, fringe benefits. Item number 4 is the division of taxation software deletion from that one-time expenditure in fiscal year 2023. And item number 5 is all other adjustments deleting $132,000. The governor recommends fiscal year 2024 expenditures on the top of page 456, totaling $126.3 million, including $16 million SGF. So going back to that $25.3 million, the governor recommends transferring $12.6 million from the State Highway Fund to the agency for replacing all embossed license plates that are not digitally produced. And if federal funds are available, then the governor recommends using those funds first. The agency will provide more information on the license plate because there are updated amounts when they provide their presentation. But I'm happy to stand for questions on fiscal year 2024.
Thank you, Sade. I do have a couple of questions. The transportation budget, I didn't see the 12 million reduction in it that is being moved over to revenue.
I will check with the analyst for transportation to make sure that it's there.
Okay, thank you. Committee, any other questions? Senator Peterson.
On the governor's recommendation on page 453, you had the vehicle license tag resale where we deleted the 400,000. Did when she took away the enhancement, did she replace that 400,000?
No, there is not a replacement of the 400,000 because they're still not going to print as many for fiscal year 23.
Sade, I have another question. I want to go back to the previous section on the 8 new employees for food alone. I'm kind of curious, or would that be more of a department question?
The department would probably be able to answer that question better. I do know that it was requested last year when we were talking, the legislature was talking about the food sales tax elimination, but I'm not sure of the extent of what the employees would be for.
Okay, that would be great. Any other questions for Sade? I do have a couple. I know you're preparing some information for us for the committee. It's a term that I should have kept, shrinkage. I would like to have the shrinkage for the last 5 years. In committee, I would turn your attention to a document that Sade prepared for us, or Eddie prepared for us. It was Sade. Eddie's like, no, not me. And legislative research, it is a 5-year look back on the approved expenditures and then what the department actually expend. If you would go over this document, please. I think this would be an eye-opener and very helpful for committee members.
Yes, so the 5-year look back, the top portion of it is total expenditures, and that looks at the approved amount for fiscal years 2018 through 2022, as well as the actual expenditures in total. And then the column on the end has the change from approved. And the bottom portion is salaries and wages only for fiscal years 2018 through 2022 again, and that is approved, actuals, and then changed from approved. And I did make a couple of notes based on previous appropriations reports that we had that showed why there were some of those significant changes that you see. So that's the footnote that you see there.
Thank you, Sade. I'll give committee members a minute to digest this. And you will be adding shrinkage to this for the last 5 years so that we will be able to see that. And could you explain to the committee what shrinkage is? I'm not sure all the committees understand. And the FTEs, I'm not saying the Department of Revenue, you guys are, I'm picking on them a little bit because they're in front of us, but I have requested this for all budgets that I'm working on, and I suggest that all committee members do also to take a look at it. Would you explain that terminology?
Yes, so shrinkage is the difference between the cost of fully funding a state agency's salaries and wages for an entire fiscal year, assuming all positions are filled at all times, and a state agency's actual salary and wage costs, taking vacancies into account. So it's achieved in two ways: either an employee terminated and the position is filled, so there's that gap time there, that would be a part of shrinkage. And then second, when a position is vacated, it is often filled by a person who has a lower salary than the person before, so that space is also shrinkage. So essentially, it's the cost savings from vacant positions.
And where does the shrinkage money go for departments and agencies?
It depends on if an agency is SGF funded or fee funded. It could stay in the fee fund and roll over into the next year, go back into SGF if it's the SGF funding portion of it. So it just depends on how the positions are funded.
For some reason, we're not seeing it go back. Well, I'll let you wait until we have that information. And then the FTEs also, I know some of you are familiar with the unfunded versus funded. A few years ago, we did get rid of quite a few FTEs, but it seems like they're creeping back. Would you address the FTE?
So on the 5-year look back, the fiscal year 2019, there was a significant decrease of about 21 positions, and I can look into what those 21 positions were, but the increase in FTE employees that we see is due to the agency retaining those 59 FTE employees in information technology, and then the opening of the driver's license office. And the agency can probably answer some more of those questions as well.
Okay, thank you. Committee, any questions? Senator Baumgart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so just looking at this, if we look at FY22, total expenditures were up 2.4 million, almost 2.5. But salary and wages expenditures only were down roughly that same amount. So what were the additional expenditures?
I can look more into that and get back with you. Let me make a note.
And Madam Chair, if someone could explain to us how you can add 27 FTE positions that weren't approved, that's that little number 1 under FY19. I understand retaining the 50 FTE employees when the contract ended. I understand opening a driver's license office with 12, but to add another 27.
Yeah, I think the department can answer that. And Senator, I would just point out, this is one of the better ones I've seen, the Department of Revenue.
But again, we're making decisions, and to have a swing of 2.4 million here and there, if we were to take that with every one of our budget hearings, with every one of the groups, we're making tax decisions, we're making all kinds of decisions without any factual information. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely, Senator, and that's why I requested this. You'll see that we do go into a little bit more detail. We need to, in order to understand our decisions that we're making and how we're impacting the budget. Senator Holland.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess the question I have is, I just want to be sure I understand this. As far as the approved and actual expenditures, is this SGF only? Is this all funds? What is this again?
This is SGF only. Oh, nope, this is all funds, sorry. I can probably pull the SGF if you'd like that, but this is all funds.
Sharday, if you would, provide the SGF funds.
And I guess what what I'm looking here is that I look over a 5-year period of actual expenditures, and obviously, I think it's important to see what are all funds versus SGF. But it looks to me like over a 5-year period, you've got those expenditures, and obviously you're going to see ups and downs because you plug into an outside vendor with an expensive project, those are going to go way up, and then you're going to plug, they're going to go down. I guess my only point, committee, is that from the 108 million to the 110 for the 5 years, I mean, what is that? Is that like a 0.3% increase over a 5-year period? I mean, to me, they are greatly, they're just figuring inflationary factors. It seems like they've done a very good job just at the macro level at managing their costs. So that's what I'm
Senator,
trying to figure out.
yeah.
So I guess what I'm saying is if you could get me basically a 5-year and a year-to-year basically percentage increase, what that is. But I'd really like to see that percentage increase for both the all funds as well as the SGF from fiscal year 2018 to 22. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And as I said, this is one of the best departments. I'm sorry that they're the one in front of this committee. Commerce, stay tuned until you see that budget. In fact, I wish people would compare the Department of Revenue to the Department of Commerce. It's unbelievable how well ran the Department of Revenue has been, and kudos to them. This is not to pick on them by any means. This is just to get the information and accurate data in front of our committee. So, thank you. Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Ms. Kane, I'm going to ask you, this may be a department question, but I prefer to ask you, and then if you aren't comfortable or don't have the information, they hear it and they have time to look. On, I'm going to call it footnote number 1, it says that the agency retained 59 FTE positions, et cetera. Was there savings in terminating the contract with CGI Technologies? I guess would be my question. I'm wondering if retaining the 51 FTEs costs more or costs less than the contract with the technologies company.
I do not have the answer to that question, so I can look into it and let you know.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Any other questions, committee? Seeing none, thank you, Sharday. Committee, we have Secretary Burkhart. Did you want to testify?
Madam Chair, if
Chris
it
Holm.
would be all right, and committee members, I'd like to have Chris Holm, our Chief Financial Officer, run through a presentation, and then I will be available for questions on any subject matter.
And I do want to commend you and thank you for your efforts and your management of the department. I have been so impressed. I literally called about a sign on the door, and you took care of it during a snowstorm. So thank you. I know it wasn't much, but I had constituents that were concerned about it. So thank you very much, Secretary. Welcome to the committee, Chris.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Chris Holm, and I'm the Chief Financial Officer at the Department of Revenue. For those of you that are new to the committee, I'll just go over our programs that we have. We have 6 programs that we operate within the department, and I'll also go over a little bit of what Sharday talked about as well. We have the Office of the Secretary program, which is our administrative arm of the agency, and that includes the budget, Office of Financial Management, which is my department, and we also have our revenue accounting area, which brings in about $13 billion of revenue that comes into the state every year. That group disseminates that out to the local counties and also other agencies as well, and the State General Fund. We also have legal services within that department, which is our group of 20 to 25 attorneys that handle all the legal matters for the agency and administrative appeals for both driver's license and also tax appeals as well. That area also has our policy and research department, which I know this committee is very familiar with. When you request fiscal notes, Kathleen and her group put those together as well. And we also have a very, very important part of the agency as well. Our Information Services Department is also, their budget is included in that program as well. We have aid to local governments, which is it's a pass-through program, and what that is it's just distribution of certain state collected taxes and fees to local units of government. It's just a pass-through, so the money comes in and the money comes out, and a lot of times when our budget fluctuates from year to year, it's because of that aid to local when we refigure it based on the consensus revenue estimates. We also have ABC, which regulates the phases of manufacturing, distribution, possession of alcohol in the state of Kansas. We have over 9,000 licensees that we take care of in that division. Our division of taxation administers all of our state taxes, account management, education, those type of things as well, delinquent tax recoveries, and the processing of our tax returns. Also cigarette and tobacco enforcement activities as well. Property valuation, which by the name, it's just that, provides supervision and training and education to our county appraisers, and also helps with property valuation in the property tax system. And then our division of vehicles, which administers our laws relating to vehicles, whether it be titling and registration, dealer licensing, also the issuing and maintenance and renewal of driver's license and ID cards. In the next section, I just went through an overview of how our budget is put together. About 58%, between 58 and 60 usually, of our budget are salary and wage costs. And then contractual services make up about 75% of the expenditures outside of salaries and wages. For FY '23 and '24, we were approved for 1,049 positions last session, and then the governor is recommending 1,057. And you alluded to this earlier, Madam Chair, those positions are added in our taxation division for the implementation of the food sales tax. It was my understanding in conversations with the Division of Budget that there were supposed to be 8 FTEs and dollars associated with that, the passing of that tax bill last year, but it got inadvertently left out of when the final fiscal note was prepared and the omnibus bill had gone through and passed. We actually did add the 8 positions. They work in our customer relations area, but we do not have any funding for those, so we had to find funding from other places within the agency to cover those. And basically what they do is they answer questions from retailers and help people get help businesses get the food sales tax implemented with the new rates.
So I just want to reiterate, it was not a simple process, and it would have been very cumbersome to implement that July 1st versus January 1st. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
And so we did add those positions, and like I said, there wasn't funding that came with them. So when we did the budget, we added in the positions and took money from other places in the agency to fund those positions this year. Right now, as of the most current pay period, we have about 70 vacant positions at the department that we're recruiting for, and all of those are currently in the recruitment phase. Much like other agencies, we're having trouble filling positions, and we're working hard on our recruitment efforts to get those positions filled.
While you're turning pages, how many of those 70 are funded?
34. So our shrinkage rate is about 3.5%. And so of those 70 positions, we assume that about 33.5 of those are vacant at all times. So there's no funding for those positions, but those, just because of the nature of how the staffing works, those 70 positions today might have been 70 different positions, 2 weeks ago.
Okay. You turn the shrinkage back in to the governor's office or to SGF? Where do you keep it for the department?
Well, it stays in the department. We have the shrinkage amount that we automatically subtract from the budget, which is the 3.5%. And then at the end of the year, it just goes back into our funding.
Okay, thank you. Committee, any other questions? Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On your page where you're talking about contractual services, and you said, I think 76% of your operating cost goes to contractual services. How frequently do you go out for bid on those contracts? Since COVID, there's so many more agencies that are up for so many other services, and I wanted to know how frequently do you review your contracts?
We review them quite frequently, and a lot of those expenditures and contractual services are going to be for the mailing and production of the license plates, and also the mailing and creation of the identification cards and driver's license. So that's what a lot of those contractual services are. But yes, we do follow all the purchasing guidelines. We do go out for bid when contracts are up. We do our due diligence on that.
Because that's something we feel in local communities where we're constantly having to review our contractual services, because that is the bulk of it, as we don't have enough staffing and need to start going outside of our agencies. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Chris. Good to see you, and old friends. It's been a while. But I have a question on just fiscal year 23, number three on the agency request, the 8 employees. I find it hard to believe that we'll need 8 full-time employees, even though the new food sales tax has been implemented. We're going to need 8 full-time employees going forward. Sound like maybe getting off the ground, maybe needed some help, but you're saying the agency is requesting we need 8 full-time going forward because of food sales tax reduction?
We knew that it was going to be maybe eventually we could phase that down, and we will try to do that. But right now, just to get it off the ground, we needed the 8 additional FTs.
Thank you. And so it'll be a year or two before you start phasing those down?
Yeah, and we will do that. I watch the budget meticulously, and if we don't need positions, we get rid of them.
Thank you. Like I said, you guys, I appreciate the Department of Revenue. I wish I could take your management philosophy to other departments.
Well, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. On page 4, just to give you an idea of, in the committee, of how KDOR is funded, about roughly 10%, a little bit more than that of our budget comes from the state general fund each year. The Division of Vehicles Operating Fund is our largest source of funding to the agency, and that is a highway transfer from the state highway fund each year that comes into the agency. The photo fee fund is the $8 fee that you pay when you go to get your driver's license renewed or get a new ID card. That goes into the photo fee fund, and then we take that money and pay our vendor that creates the credential. We also have the electronic database fee fund, which is our electronic records. And then also we have a combination of other fee funds as well for various services that we do. I'm going to skip the enhancement request for right now because we'll come back to that when we go to FY24. On page 5, what I did was I went through and put a approved budget versus the governor's recommendation. And if you'll notice, there's about a $3 million difference from what we were approved for in FY23 to the governor's budget recommendation. A lot of that is going to be that aid to locals, which I talked about a little while ago, which is based on the consensus revenue estimates. We actually, when we do the budget in the summer, we have to use the May estimate, which sometimes doesn't prove to be true because when it actually happens, 9 months later. So we just use our best estimate on that. And then most of our other funding shifts are usually just shifting funds from one program to another for agency operations, but we try to keep our expenditures as flat as possible each year. Under each program, I just listed what the different things that we have made adjustments to, just so you have an idea of that by program. And then before I go to FY24, I can stand for questions.
Thank you. Committee, any questions? Senator Reddy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So when your aid for local governments, Is the bulk of that going for the reimbursements for county clerks for the revenue neutral mailings?
No, the reason that, that's part of that fund, in aid to locals, that's part of the county clerk reimbursement is part of that program. But the main difference is the sand royalty and, the oil and gas, distributions that we do, which make up the 2 million difference. But we budgeted for those mailers that you're talking about, we budgeted about 1.1 million, and we've spent a little over 1 million. So we're about 65,000 under what our estimate was.
So is that, may I have a follow-up question? Thank you. So when does the mailing stop as far as funding from the state? At some point, I thought the counties were going to take it upon themselves because their request is to take it
Senator
from
Reddy,
the
that's
state.
this year.
that is
This year is the final year that that letter will be paid for, unless something changes in statute.
And it falls on the local communities.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, the original bills for 22 and 23.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Okay, we will move ahead to fiscal year '24. For fiscal year '24, we requested 138.8 million, which included the 25.5 million from our enhancement request, which was for replacements of the standard license plate. The original cost for that 25 million was going to be about 13.85 million in production costs and 11.5 million for mailing costs. And then the governor's recommendation came back, and she recommended that we just replace the embossed license plates because a lot of those are anywhere between 10 and 15 years old, and the reflectivity on them has gone down significantly. And so we came back at the end of this month, actually, and did a refiguring of that, and the actual cost to replace just the embossed license plates is going to be 9.75 million. It's not the original 12 that we thought last fall.
Thank you. Committee, any questions? Seeing none, thanks. Oh, Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I realize this is not the Transportation Committee. Been told they got a great chairman, but in any event, you had mentioned the license plates. Some of them that I see out there, you cannot read. Are those the old ones or are those the digital ones?
Those are the old ones. Those are going to be the embossed plates that weren't digitally produced. We started digitally producing license plates in 2018. And so the ones that you see that are deteriorated significantly are all ones that would be included in this package to be replaced.
Digital ones you're confident will not fade?
Well, the license plates have a 5-year useful life, I guess you could say, before the reflectivity starts to wear off. And so right now, those ones, digitally produced ones that we started to produce back in 2018 are just reaching the 5-year useful life. But right now, we're concerned with the older ones to get those off the road.
Senator Blasey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is the new license plate going to have a new design?
That I do not know. I haven't been told one way or the other.
So the plan will be then just to take all those folks who have the older plates and just send them a new digital?
Yes, they will receive one in the mail.
Okay, same
at no
number,
cost.
Same number and everything on their plate?
I'm not sure. Let me check.
Okay.
They will not, no, they will not have the same number. I didn't think that they were, but I know some people are very particular about that, but we're not going to be able to accommodate that, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Okay, and then just the final thing is I just wanted to give the committee just some budget history, kind of where we've been the last 5 years.
Actually, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. Go ahead,
Go
Madam
ahead.
Chair.
I have a few questions, but go ahead and finish really quickly if you could.
Okay, sure. The last part, I just was going to say that this last table is just a history of our state general fund and special revenue funds that we've received over the past 5 years that kind of just, I try to make sure that the budget is flat every year, but global changes sometimes happen where I'm not, I don't have control over it. So that is a lot of times why our budget is increased.
Thank you. Committee, any
Thank you.
questions? And I have a couple, they're a little off topic, but since the Department of Revenue's here, I just got a notice from a House member. The application for the COVID property tax refund for businesses is extremely difficult to use if you're one space blank or one space off. In fact, the comment that was just sent by a representative was, it's not worth the $5,000 refund to spend the time trying to fill out the application. Why is that so difficult, and what can we do to fix it?
We'll have to
And
go.
you don't have to
Yeah.
answer that right now. You can take that away and come back.
Yeah, we will take that, back and come back to the.
Okay.
to
And
the committee.
I literally just got notice of that. So I had heard rumblings, but I had never heard that it wasn't worth $5,000. So the second question I have is PVD. There was an $800,000 audit on property tax. It's required by statute. And it's to make sure that that appraisers and counties are in compliance. I don't know the details of it. A county commissioner called and said they spent over $800,000 this year on that compliance, and it goes nowhere. Nobody looks at it. It just sits in a desk. I'm really concerned about that expenditure and what we need to do to get that off the books so that we're not wasting that kind of money. My other concern with PVD is, and I've heard this said over and over, PVD says they have no authority over the county appraisers, and the county appraisers say they look to PVD for their solutions. And so we've got a circular that nobody's taking responsibility. And I have grave concern over that. It's been going on for years now, and this committee is going to address it one way or another. Okay, thank you. Committee, any other questions? Senator Holland.
Can I just make a couple comments? So 2 comments real quick. First of all, I, like the chairwoman, really want to thank Department of Revenue. Had a specific customer service situation happen where a CPA in my district came to me and said, hey, we're getting some notices going out to certain of our, tax customers. And so I was able basically to connect my constituent, the CPA preparer, with the customer service rep. And anyway, but the point is that they follow up with them. I think that's a good example of basically, that's customer service. And at the end of the day, to me, our agencies, particularly when you're taking their money, I feel like they're getting service. So anyway, attaboy on that. The other thing that I want to say, Madam Chair, and I know other people in this committee are dealing with too, obviously we have constituents, and some of them are obviously older. They are less tech savvy. Although my father is not a Kansas resident, he really is unfamiliar with the computer. My point is that when it comes to tax preparation and communications, we need to just be sure, once again, that our processes are constituent friendly from the standpoint, if they don't have the tech skills or the equipment, they can still have their voice heard and have responsive means to do that. And when I say that, I know it's a balance that you have to manage, but I think we can continue to be vigilant about that. That's another part of the customer service experience. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And that actually gave me an idea. Can the application for the COVID money relief fund be printed and mailed in so that they don't have to file electronically?
Madam Chair, not at this point, but we will definitely look into that for you.
Okay, that may solve the problem that individuals are running into. Committee, any other questions? Seeing none, I appreciate the department again. Can't thank you guys enough. Really, like I said, your model could be exemplary for the rest of our other departments. Thank you guys very much. We'll close the budget hearing on the Department of Revenue. Committee, we have about less than 5 minutes. 3 minutes. I don't know that we have time to work a bill. I would love to, but we worked all the simple ones. Let's turn our attention to Senate Bill 54 real quick, if we can. 96 is simple? I don't think so. Committee, yeah, we are running out of time, so we're trying to get as much done as we possibly can or accomplished. Amelia, do you have 54? And Senator Holland has an amendment for it. Well, committee, we're going to run out of time. I guess we will pick up tomorrow. We have the BODA hearing. We'll have the hearing on their budget. We will work the revenue and BODA budget this week and a list of other bills. We'll start with Senate Bill 54, just so the committee's aware. In fact, let me give you that list real quick. We'll start with 54, then attempt Senate Bill 8, Senate Bill 80, Senate Bill 96, Senate Bill 29, Senate Bill 41. And as time permits, 97 and 128 possibly. 128 possibly, as time permits. Is there any other business to be brought before the committee? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you.